Moeilijk, want het van jou, als je eigen goede fietsjes is, dat is wel prachtig lijkt. Ik heb terughouden. Die spraak in de hang
Good afternoon, goedemiddag. Good to see you here, even though we're in the final stages of the year, that you can make time for what's important, and that is understanding and expanding what we know about teaching and learning. And so we're really privileged to have three colleagues here who will give some feedback on the work they did as TAL fellows. I'm not going to say much about that because you will find out as they present what that meant in their careers. But I will introduce the three of them very briefly, and then each of them will take about 15 minutes to give us an explanation of the work that they did, and followed by a question and answer session of 15 to 20 minutes or so, trying to finish by 2, but if you want to stay on after that, then that would be great. So the first person who will be speaking to us today is Elmarie Costandius. She's an associate professor in visual arts and coordinates the MA in visual arts, specific for art education at our university. And her PhD in curriculum studies here at our university focus on the social responsibility and critical citizenship in art education. She received a teaching fellowship from the South African Department of Education in 2011, 2013. Then in 2013, the Heltasa National Excellent Teaching Award. And in 2016, she was one of the Teaching Advancement at University Fellowship holders. She will introduce her topic just now. Let me just then move to our second speaker in alphabetical order. This will be Ian Cooper. He's the director of the Kwanda Center for Rural Health and Professional Development just here on our neighboring town Worcester, and it's about that center is about the health professions education. In January 2014, he was presented with one of the 7 international special awards on outstanding health professional educators, and the annual Prince Maidol Award Conference in 2014. That was in Thailand. In 2014, he was also honored as the South African by the South African Association of Health Educationalists as a Distinguished Educationer of the Year. And he recently completed the inaugural TAL Fellowship, a national program to enhance leadership in the scholarship of teaching and learning across all universities in South Africa. So he will introduce his topic, and we're looking forward to that. Our third speaker, Gio Quino. He's presently also the Vice Dean in the Faculty of Law, but other than that, he's Professor of Law in the Department of Public Law at our university and founding director of the African Procurement Law Unit and co-director of the Socio-Economic Rights and Administrative Justice Research Project. He's president of the Administrative Justice Association of South Africa and he has been involved in teaching for quite a while, specifically advancing it and researching it. He was a teaching fellow at Yale University 2013 to 2015, quite recently, and he was part of the first group that formed the Scholarship of National Researchers to complete the Teaching National Advanced, the STAL Fellowship. He's one of the first ones to participate in that, and we'll hear what followed from that just now in his talk. He was also awarded the Heltasa National Excellence Recognition in 2012, and Stellenbosch University also recognized him more than once for his excellence in teaching and learning, most recently the Chancellor's Award in 2016. So really, three great colleagues in this field who will come to inform us a bit today on what they're doing. We're looking forward to your presentations. Elmarie, if you want to start, and then we'll go to Ian and followed by Gio. So thanks so much. We're looking forward to this engagement this afternoon with all of you participating. Thanks,
Thank you.
Elmarie.
Thank you. Okay, hello everyone. I will start with one slide just to give you an idea of what happened before the TAL Fellowship. And then I'm using the same presentation that I used at the TAL Fellowship, and I'll do the same presentation here. So I haven't changed that. And then I also talk a little bit about after TAL, what happened. So before TAL, in 2010 to 2012, I did my PhD, and that was also focusing on critical citizenship. And then in 2015, I published my first book with Eli Bitzer, also on critical citizenship, engaging higher education curricula, a critical citizenship perspective. So this is then the presentation I did at the TAL Fellowship when we all had to present our projects. So, critical citizenship and social justice education, a staff development action research project. This was different because previously in my own PhD thesis, I focused mainly on students and my engagement with students and critical citizenship. In this project, it was specifically working with other lecturers from Stellenbosch University and specifically a staff development project. So the aims of the project was to explore critical citizenship and social justice, teaching and learning in different faculties, departments, and then to improve critical citizenship and social justice, to listen to lecturers and students, and to create a space to deal with transformation. The group consisted of the lecturers from the different faculties, Margaret from chemistry, Rhoda from agri-science, Marianne from also agri-science, Ian Nell from theology, Evodia from wine biotechnology, and Melanie at that stage could not take part because she was busy with her PhD, and then myself. So the theories that we worked with was critical citizenship, focusing on Johnson and Morris mostly. Critical citizenship is the promotion of a common set of shared values such as tolerance, diversity, human rights, and democracy. As an educational pedagogy, it encouraged critical reflection on the past and an imagining of a possible future shaped by social justice in order to prepare people to live together in harmony in diverse societies. Then social justice, focusing a lot on Nancy Fraser's work, distribution of resources, and then also the politics of recognition, which is very important, I think, to focus on. And then also representation, who are represented in different meetings or in the universities or in power positions. Decolonizing, focusing on Mbembe and specifically the work of Watuongo, decolonizing the mind and decolonizing knowledge, and then also effect theory and sort of the ideas of the embrained and the embodied. And I'll talk more about it when we get there. So the process that we followed, we had a survey on social justice, and that was with all the participants, the different lecturers. It was from 3 different faculties, and there were 32 lecturers responded to that survey. And so some of the data that came out of it, and also the articles that we published afterwards, came from the survey, but also from the seminar that we organized, and 28 lecturers participated. Then the third part was the student protest reflections. And that was, at that stage, was an ongoing process, and then we presented at the SOTL conference last year. So this was the page that we sent out to lecturers and staff members and also students. When you look at these images, what effect do they have on you, bodily and cognitively? How did it impact your relation with your students? Please write, draw, cut, or do whatever you feel like doing with this page and send it anonymously in the US mail to the Transformation Office. Sorry, some of the lettering moved a bit. This information will help us to understand what effect this had on you, your class, and the university. This was just for the students. So this is the reactions that our group got from some of the lecturers and students. And as you will see, it's a huge variety. And I think that's one of our things, that's complexity that we're dealing with at our university. So one of the lecturers responded by saying, something is wrong, something has to change. We need to stop being afraid that the entire world is going to be taken over by chaos and madness. We need to stop being so afraid that academic standards are going to crash. At the bottom of it, I'm so Eurocentric and terrified that it all will fall apart. The center will not hold, and I have to ask myself why. Another lecturer, I'm colored and I'm proud of it. I give black and colored students a space to feel at home in my classes, but I'm concerned about the male white students that feel so attacked. I feel they do not have a place or a voice in my class. A student commented, the fact that they are black does not give them the right to study for free. Me, as a colored, has the same circumstances when it comes to money, but we have to pay without complaining. If students do not understand Afrikaans English, they should take extra language classes, otherwise they should not be here in the first place. Another lecturer remarked, I am English, female, white, middle class, and well educated. The language thing is a fraud. I understand the need to preserve Afrikaans, to keep an Afrikaans medium university. The Western Cape is totally mixed up. People change from English to Afrikaans in mid-sentence. My industry is completely Afrikaans. It will take decades for it to become mainly English. How can I train students in English when they will go into an Afrikaans workplace with Afrikaans workers? A student said, and I think for us it was really important to hear and to listen what lecturers and students are saying and how they experience this. These images have an effect on me bodily because I am thinking of how great it is to study at a multilingual university, regardless of the complexity. Personally, the images remind me of the past, where protest had to be the only language that the government could listen to. I wish that could change. Frustrated that we are blinded by our feelings, which does not allow us to gain perspective on the situation. For some or other reason, I have this feeling of guilt that should be named. I am privileged. And then she carries on. These images shock me and make me angry. It makes me sad because I can see how people are affected on their facial expressions, and so on. I think in many ways we still want something from our lecturers' side. Where do they stand within all these happenings? They need to take a stand so that we know where we stand with them. And I think for lecturers, I think this is an important message. A student also said, it certainly made me more critical on the stance lecturers take and the kind of language they use. So that's also something that we have to think about. And this was also about the participation of lecturers with actual social issues. Student also commented, These events place stress on my relationship with lecturers, as I want to see them actively partake in solving these issues, and oftentimes this is not the case, or they are not as involved as they should be. Sometimes it even appears that they do not care at all. Going to skip some of them. The images have different effects on me, both bodily and cognitively. I feel tension and fear, but also sympathy and pain for the people who had to protest to make their voices heard. And then the third last one, and I've underlined some of the things that I would like to highlight. I feel anger towards both the protesting students and towards the institutional powers. The experience of not hearing, listening, and understanding is a huge cognitive challenge. It seems as though the rational competencies of academic training is of no help in developing a way forward. And I think that we have to reflect on. I mean, what is it that we are doing? How can we find different solutions? And I'll talk about this also a little bit later. These events did have a huge impact on my relationship with my students. The impact is, however, both positive and negative. On the one hand, I have a feeling of discomfort and uncertainty. On the other hand, I have the experience of excitement while I feel that my understanding of students are shattered. I also feel excited by on the one hand it's shattered, I also feel excited by the challenge to try to understand and to put myself in the shoes of the students. That I am dealing with students who are determined to challenge even my position as a lecturer. My attitude to them is one of respect, but also fear. And I think that, in a way, sums up maybe the feeling that a lot of lecturers have. It's this feeling when there are student protests, it's somehow you want to put yourself in the shoes of those students. On the other hand, there's also fear. Because very often I think we don't know always what we want, what we could do. And then the last one, I suddenly feel that my words are not compatible with the experiences and world around me. You know, that there's some kind of distance between what is happening outside, you know, the university or within the university with students and what is happening actually in this academic world. Concluding remarks. We would like to stress the variety of reactions. There's a wide variety of things that people say and how people feel. And tell us about the campus and about the type of issues we're dealing with. We suggest that the learning inside and outside the classroom becomes more integrated when social issues are more linked with academic content. So what is happening in society around us need to come into our academic teaching, or it must be linked. It was discovered that the protest had a great affective impact on participants. Strong emotions and beliefs affected the relationship between students and lecturers. We hope that this could contribute to lecturer and student relational development in a time when activism has the potential to serve as a wake-up call, but also to create a division between lecturers and students. So this was the end of the 2016 presentation. Then I want to, what happened then after TAO and how did the group took this further? At the SOTL conference, we had a presentation at the SOTL conference, and then I think if I remember right, it was Marianne who said at the previous one, the previous SOTL conference, Marianne was saying, we should focus on decolonizing, you know, start focusing and going into that direction. So then it developed, and we had a discussion. So it's not only the curriculum that we are talking about, and I think it was Ian that said it's spaces. So we decided this should be decolonizing spaces. We're talking about the environment. We're talking about the person that need to be decolonized. It's not only the curriculum. It's not in a distance from what we're doing. It's also the person itself. So we wrote an article together, and this will be published in the South African Journal of Higher Education in 2018, Feast Must Fall and Decolonizing the Curriculum, Stellenbosch University Students and Lecturers' Reactions. Then also I was with Professor Udibo from the University of Benin, published a book on the relevance of critical citizenship in Africa, and many of our lecturers also contributed to that book. Then I also participated in the task team that Professor Skoenwinkel developed on decolonizing the curriculum. At the moment, I'm working hard on the Visual Redress Committee, looking at specifically what's happening on campus, this environment that we are in. So decolonizing the environment. So it's the curriculum, it's the person itself, but also looking at our environment. And there's also now, if you all would be interested, there's now a committee for visual redress. So there's a specific group of people looking at what to do on campus. Then there's a platform, Knowledge Intersections, that I started. It's an NRF project with the idea that more lecturers could take part in this knowledge creation or the intersections of knowledge. So what the idea is then to record different lectures, record different happenings on campus, so it can be shared with more lecturers. So it's not only our research group that are participating, it's actually want to share this with a much bigger group on campus. And the idea is that you could, from this platform, you can listen to this from home. So it's not, the idea is you don't have to come to a meeting about decolonizing the curriculum or about transformation or social justice. You can go and listen to this, and in time you will start learning the terminology. You will start sort of thinking, okay, I can also take part in these conversations. And I think that's where we would like to end up, so getting more lecturers and students involved in this process. My last slide, it's just my current research that I'm focusing on. And specifically, I'm part of a group that works specifically on multimodality. And I think this could be a very valuable way to go forward for teaching and learning. Because the multimodal ways of teaching and learning could accommodate a difference in much better ways. And if you look at the names at the bottom, Vivian Bozalek at UWC and Denise and Lucia, they already, at those universities, already focus a lot on multimodality, especially in your everyday teaching and learning. So I think that might be something that we could focus on in future. Then also the post-human, and I think it's a lot to do with how we approach things. Sort of this entanglement of things. Instead of having this dualistic thinking of the binary, of this is on this side, this is good, this is bad, this is black, this is white, and so on. Trying to think of this entanglement, it changed our way of thinking and the way we do research. And as I mentioned before, the embrained and embodied. We realize after these student protests that it's very much also an embodied experience. It's not only a cognitive brain experience. So we have to take this in consideration in our everyday teaching and learning. How it's that entanglement of the body and the brain. And how do we engage also in embodied learning and not only embrained learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Elmarie.